we're say kind of without further ado, since we do have a bit more than quorum, let's go ahead and officially open our meeting. It's 6:04 p.m. and welcome to the December meeting of the Urban Food Policy Council. As we've been doing as our common practice during kind of our conference for video conference meetings, we'll go around and take attendance. We're gonna spend a good amount of time welcoming our few new folks to the council, but so there, just to kind of let folks know or refresh memories, you need to state your name and role for the record. So I'll go first. Megan Regan, Chair. Michael, you're up next.
Michael Banner. I don't know what member.
Can you all hear Michael? Because I hear nothing, so I'm going to hop on a different computer.
Okay.
Maybe other folks have been talking to me and I have no idea because I hear nothing. All right.
Pardon me, y'all. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
So while Megan is getting reconnected.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, okay, great. I'm glad you're back with us. If we want to continue the roll call, I think Michael had gone. I don't know who would like to go next. Possibly Justin. I think you're unmuted if you'd like to join in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was unmuted.
Oh, no. It's great that you were.
Justin Wilson, new member.
David Harrison, on the ward.
Council member, wonderful. Thank
Council
you.
member.
All right, there. How about Jacqueline?
You're muted.
Hi.
Oh,
There
I
you
got
go,
you.
Jack.
Okay, I got you. Okay, Jacqueline Ramsey, council member.
All right. Let's see. We've got Jediah.
Christopher Jediah Jefferson, new council member.
Welcome. How about our city liaisons?
I can go. My name is Mariah Gundy, and I am the new city liaison to the Urban Food Policy Council. And I'm looking forward to being here tonight with y'all.
And I'm Helen. I am Mariah's direct supervisor. I'm the director of sustainability with the city. I will be attending the next few meetings with Mariah to get her fully onboarded, to get you guys onboarded with her, all that good stuff. But yes, she will be the main contact for you guys now. And I will be taking that step back and letting her be that contact for you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you, Helen. And I think Brandon is just tuning in. Welcome, Brandon. We are doing roll call. If when you get a chance, you can unmute and state your name for the record, please. Hey, Brandon, good evening. If you get a chance, we were just kind of doing call to order. If you don't mind stating your name for the record. All right, well, we'll give him a couple minutes to get settled. But they're, welcome to December, y'all. It's been a few months since I've seen most of you, and some of y'all are new to the council. So it's a really exciting meeting for us tonight as our last meeting of the year. So it's always kind of bittersweet. Great to see some of y'all, and also welcome to new council members, which I know is wonderful. So last couple of meetings we've had as a council, we haven't had quite enough to make quorum, but also just kind of waiting in kind of some of the hiccups that have gone a bit longer in the pandemic. So it's really exciting today. What we're going to do in terms of the bulk of our agenda is kind of give the floor over to our new city liaison, Mariah, as well as welcome our two new council members, Christopher Jediah and Justin. And we'll kind of all take turns introducing ourselves, letting them know who we are, as well as giving them the floor to introduce themselves. But I do see we have two more folks that called in, Tambila as well as Brandon. So just in kind of our protocol while we're video meeting, if y'all don't mind unmuting and stating your name and council position for the record. I'll keep trying. I'll try a few more times. We'll see. All right. So there, has everyone had a chance to take a look at our minutes from our last meeting? It's been a hot minute since we've met. So I know the first thing I noticed was the date. I've missed y'all. Were there any revisions, edits, additions for our minutes? These were sent out by Mariah. They were minutes from the June meeting.
No, I followed along. I wasn't able to be at the meeting, but I followed along with the notes.
Yeah, I think the notes are pretty comprehensive.
All right, Brandon, while you're unmuted, can you introduce yourself, just name and that you're on the council for the official call to order, please, since we're on video conference.
Absolutely. My name is Brandon Williams, and I'm a member of the Urban Food Policy Council.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you all. Hope everyone is well.
Yeah. Hope you are too. All right, any other comments, edits, revisions? Just to brush up our Robert's rules, someone then might motion to accept the minutes as received.
I motion to accept the minutes as received. Brandon Williams.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jacqueline. All right, so then we will vote, and here again, just in the kind of awkward way that we do the video conference meeting, we will vote by stating our name. So Megan Regan, yay.
David Harrison, yay.
Michael Banner, yay.
Jacqueline Ramsey, yay.
Tambila Covington, yay.
Justin Wilson, yay.
Christopher Jeffers, yay.
Brandon Williams, yay.
Thanks, y'all. The minutes are approved as received. Tambila, good evening and welcome. Just in our kind of call to order process while on video conferencing, do you mind stating your name and that you're on the council for the record, please?
No problem. My name is Tambila Covington, and I am a member of the Urban Food Policy Council. Thank you. It's good to meet you all.
Thanks. Welcome. All right. Well, we have adopted the minutes, and it is so great to have quorum and have everyone here today. So basically, our new business is mostly welcoming our new folks to the council. So what I first want to do is introduce our new city liaison, the food resilience manager. I think I got that correct, Mariah Jendi. And I would like us to turn the floor over to Mariah, let her introduce herself, talk a bit about kind of what brings her to the position. And she is our new city liaison. So welcome, Mariah.
Thank you, Megan. Yeah, I'm excited to be here today with y'all. And so, yes, as Megan had shared, I am the new Food Resilience Program Manager with the city. So you got my title correct. And I will be taking over for Tiffany Oliva, who had this role prior to me. And so a little bit of background about myself. I am a Winston-Salem native. I grew up in Winston-Salem. I went to Wake Forest for my undergraduate, and I graduated in 2016. And so from 2016 to now, I have sort of navigated a number of different roles that have put me sort of in community-based oriented positions, as well as environmental justice and food related work. I've worked with a number of small-scale farmers, both in the country as a whole and a lot within Winston-Salem. I have been a vendor with the Cobblestone Farmers Market for upwards of 6 years now. And I've also worked with the Yadkin River Keeper. I worked at Hanging Rock State Park. And I also served as an AmeriCorps Vista for 2 years at the Wake Forest-based program that is the Winston-Salem Community Action Coalition. So all of those positions have sort of informed my understanding of our food system and our food justice initiatives and work. And so I have a strong passion for this work, and I'm excited to have the opportunity and the platform to be working with the city and to be working alongside the Urban Food Policy Council. As I understand, it has the ability to have an immense impact. And so I hope to be a contributing member and help make build a more resilient food system for the Winston-Salem community. So that's a little bit about myself. And so I don't know if anyone wants to chime in or take it over from there.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're very excited about your role with the city as well as our council. Did anyone from the council have any questions or thoughts for Mariah?
Welcome. Good to have you on board and good to finally meet you.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, good to see you again, Mariah. And I'm pleased to learn. Like I didn't know all that about you and your prior involvement. So it builds my confidence. Like you can give more substantial input and contributions to what we're doing. So appreciate you.
Thank you. That's very kind and generous. I have met Michael in a number of other food related conversations, such as like Forsyth Food Chats. And so it's also good to see you again.
Wonderful. So from there, our other big agenda item is to welcome our 2 new council members. But before we kind of throw them out there to introduce themselves, perhaps in between Mariah sharing a bit about herself, maybe us as a council can kind of introduce ourselves, and then we'll give Christopher, Jediah, and Justin a chance to introduce themselves. Anyone want to go first? All right, well, as the teacher who's always looking for the hand up, I'll go for it. So I'm Megan Regan. I'm the current chair of the Urban Food Policy Council, and then other roles around town. I'm also a faculty member at Wake Forest in the economics department. That's always a crowd favorite. But I've been really fortunate to serve on the council since we were kind of our inaugural season. And it's just been great work in connecting kind of our local community to the government, and working with local small scale farmers, working within our 10 duties as described by the council. So it's really just an awesome opportunity to connect our community with our local governance. I also am pretty active in teaching ag. I've kind of done some camps over the years, entrepreneurial camps with teenage girls. I usually call it things like food entrepreneurship and not actually getting your hands dirty. But I'm very passionate about small scale businesses and entrepreneurship. And in my spare time, I got 2 little kids and we all keep each other busy. So. All right, I'll just kind of call out, we'll play this, we'll call someone next out. So Mr. Banner, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Michael Banner, and yes, these babies do keep me pretty occupied. I'm a father of 4, and I got a lot of little cousins and nephews and stuff running around. So that's kind of the base that I strive to build from, the youth. Try to put family first. It's a small city, so it's not a lot of degrees of separation between all of us. And I'm an urban farmer, so-called, but I've pretty much rebranded myself as a grassroots agriculturalist, just because the term urban farming has really been co-opted by, the city and by gentrification efforts. People have been kind of encroaching in our community, kind of taking away from the integrity of the community and making it more serving towards the status quo. I'm very passionate about my work. I am the executive director of Island Cultures, which is a grassroots organization that is, our impetus is building wealth in the community from an agricultural perspective primarily. And I'm also a board member of FoodWorks, which has come up in these conversations with this council. That's kind of what seat I was sitting in, is being a board member of Forsyth FoodWorks, which has been spoken to be, being folded up, but I never really seen that reality. And I'm looking forward to, building equally with all the people of this board and this committee, learning, how to better collaborate and even facilitate if I need to. So that's pretty much who I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And also just a bit of history for our new members. Michael was our inaugural chair of the council. All right, let's see. Tambila, let's kind of go in and some of the original folks on the council introduce ourselves first, and then we'll kind of go that way.
Well, good evening. I thought I had done that part earlier, but I understand. So I am Tambila Covington, and I have been part of this Urban Food Policy Council, I believe, since 2018, if I'm not mistaken, and certainly passionate around food access, food justice. My history, my graduate studies was in agriculture education.
Thank you. All right, let's see, Jacqueline. Here, we're just introducing ourselves to our new council members and liaisons, just kind of as a bit of a warm meet and greet since we're on video conference.
Yes, I'm Jacqueline Ramsey. I retired from the hotel restaurant management field. So I've worked in hotels and in restaurants. And also after graduating college, did some catering with my daughter before she died. And would like to go back to doing some catering, but aimed at a food truck for the homeless. I'm vegan, so I would want to serve vegan food to the homeless. And in talking with some folks, it's getting a warm reception. So that's something I want to aim for. I'm also want to do a garden in my front yard. So hopefully I'd inspire other neighbors to want to have a front yard garden. I hope I can get it in place by next year. I've been in Winston about 6 years now, and I really enjoy it here. I do a lot of volunteering. With COVID, the volunteering got, stopped. But I mean, as soon as I can go back, I am going to do Christmas for the city. I'm going to volunteer for that Saturday. So it's good to finally get to volunteer a little bit again. But that's a big focus for me, is volunteering in the community and giving my time to others.
Awesome. Thank you, Jacqueline. Let's see, Brandon. David, how about David? Then we'll come back. We'll circle back to Brandon.
Hello, I am the director of New Communion Pantry. We've been a pantry in the area since 2016. We go out to the communities where we serve food and any other needs that we need to meet. Right now, we're in the midst of our holiday drive, so we'll be delivering food and holiday meals and toys and all those good things. I have 2 children. I also pastor, and I think I've been on the board on this council. I don't even want to say it's been a year yet. I think I'm getting close. So still learning. I'm very passionate about food insecurity. That's what has drawn me to this area and has drawn me to this work. And I'm so happy to be here and glad to see you all.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. Brandon, did you want to share a bit about yourself and what
Sure.
brought you to the council, to our new members and new liaison, please?
Yes, my name is Brandon Williams. What brought me to the council, I saw that there was an opportunity for me to add value to the food security initiatives that's occurring within the county and the city of Winston-Salem. I'm a agricultural consultant, agrarian, grower. I'm on the board of North Carolina Community Garden Partners for the Piedmont. We're on Safoni Community Development Corporation. We do a lot of ag consulting. We're dealing primarily with vineyards and diversification and sustainability. Outcome-based agriculture initiatives. We got a Terra Titan series going on. Soul Food Urban Farms, and I'm also one of the founding members of Hot Boy Spice Capital. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. And I appreciate all y'all kind of, sharing a bit about yourself and stuff. I know the video conference method of getting to know folks is a bit different. But there it's kind of just, in our warm welcome to our new city liaison, as well as our 2 new council members. So I was fortunate to have a chance to get a little bit of time with each of them. But I do, want to share my excitement about our 2 new council members. I'm sorry, Jediah, I know you as Jediah. So do you prefer Christopher Jediah, or is Jediah is good? All right. So it is with great excitement that I welcome Jediah and Justin to our council. And there I kind of just wanted to give them a chance to get to know us a bit more. I know some of us might know them a little bit through our community work or other roles out and about. But there I'd like to also turn the floor over to them, let them have a chance to introduce themselves, and then also to ask us some questions, right? So there, I don't know, let's go in alphabetical order of last name. Jediah, if you want to go first and kind of just introduce yourself, what you do outside of our council, and what maybe brought you to our council, please.
Oh, well, thank you for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Christopher Jadiah Jeffords. I mostly go by Jadiah, but as long as you call me, that's fine. It could be either or. I am a high school Spanish and Latin American studies teacher at Carver High School. Also, I'm a Carver High School alum. I graduated there. So community is important to me, and it's the first place I wanted to go back to teach. I am also the garden director at Carver High School. We're moving into our 7th year of a garden internship program, and currently working on designing and getting implemented into the school, our school, not the school system, a food justice based curriculum, right? So we can be well-rounded in the education of our youth at Carver High School. I'm interested in learning about how I can connect my students' education and linking to the broader community through being involved in this Food Policy Council. So that's what sparked my interest in thinking outwardly as an educator, interested in the critical conversations around food inequities and how to address those, starting in education and moving outward. And so I look forward to learning and listening and being humble and offering insight where I can. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. And Justin.
Hi, everybody. My name is Justin Wilson. I'm a chef, been a chef for 22 years, and I'm currently the chef at Summit School here in Winston-Salem. And feeding people and connecting food to people is all I've ever done, and it's something that I have a deep passion for. I'm also a father. I've got 2 beautiful little girls, and they keep me busy and run me all over town. And it's something that I wouldn't trade for anything. And it helps keep me connected to myself and to the city and to young people. And I think I came to want to do this because I want to see ways and find ways to address that last connection, getting food to people who need it, whether it's food deserts or other projects that can do that. So I just want to find ways to help.
Wonderful. Thank you, Justin. So, I think from there, that's our kind of official new business. I would welcome a chance to kind of open the floor if folks had conversations or things like that. I think from an official Robert's Rules kind of perspective, we were in a bit of a holding pattern in terms of some council members that rotated off and waiting to get our new council members welcome to the council with quorum and things like that. So what you might see from the minutes is kind of where we left off as a council is we had just had our last major council event, which was a food summit. And then from there, we got a lot of great information. I think Brandon and I share a love for data and learning from data-driven points and things like that. So there's a lot of great kind of information gathered, feedback, as you know, qualitative and quantitative information, as well as passing the baton to the city on the Liberty Street vendors market, which was a big project for our council for a little over a year. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of larger projects. If anyone, again, kind of wants to ask some questions, start some conversations, pitch some ideas, I welcome all of that.
I would jump in here, Megan, if that's all right with you and the council members. So, you know, I'm a little bit more than a month into my position. So again, I have been also very focused on learning and listening and trying to understand some of what came before me in terms of not only the Urban Food Policy Council, but the city's perspective and actions on building a resilient food system. And so in that, I have learned and spoken with a number of people who have been involved with the Liberty Street Market, Tiffany Oliva, of course, but I would like to open up the conversation and hear council's perspectives on a number of questions that I have, if that is okay, related to Liberty Street. So I know, Megan, you actually just said that the council was able to successfully sort of pass the baton over to Liberty Street Market over to the city. So my question, I guess, number one is, does the council have an interest or a desire to continue having some management hands-on kind of actions in terms of managing the actual market or showing participation and interest or recruitment of vendors? So I think that's sort of, oh, go ahead. Yeah, instead of firing on a bunch of questions, please go ahead and just answer. Sorry.
Yes, I do. Brandon Williams.
Okay. And so I guess if that is a interest, and I don't know if everyone else sort of agrees on that or wants to chime in as well.
What I want to do is I'm interested in developing a step function action plan based upon some of the data that we accumulated over the past few sessions to kind of make a plan or measurable outcomes to kind of, you know, realize some of those targets that we're aiming for.
And can you, for my own education, could you talk a little bit more specifically about some of those target actions that you're referring to?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I want to develop and come together and identify what the goals are.
Okay.
For the Liberty Street Market. So I want to, you know, identify those goals and identify those objectives, both short term and long range, kind of come together and create some type of action plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's an excellent goal. Megan, I see. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I think there I would, I definitely support Brandon's sentiment. I think there our initial goal as a council, so there I'm sure Mariah had a chance to read a few times our 10 duties as defined by the city, right? And so one of those duties is the 2 market spaces that are kind of operated by the city. And this pilot program, the grant that we got through Community Food Strategies, gave us an opportunity to really start to work on a pilot program and a goal of showing the viability of the Liberty Street Market as a local marketplace for folks producing within the area and for folks consuming within the area. And I think there we were pretty successful in that. And from there, the city had kind of expressed interest in taking it over operationally as a city market. But I would still say it's part of our duties as a council defined by the city, and certainly within the realm of our passions and connections to our local food system. And I'll kind of glean from Michael's turns, our local agriculturalists and producers and wealth builders and things like that, you know. So I think as a council, I would certainly say, yes, we're interested in working with it. But as connected to what Brandon said, I think we're interested in collecting some more information, what's working for the vendors, how do we connect more with the immediate surrounding constituents to make sure that it's a viable community, I'm an economist, so the way that I define that term market is a place of exchange, and certainly building it as a place of exchange of community ideas, consumption, production, obviously sustainability in terms of sustainable livelihoods would connect with all of that. So that's kind of my thought, and I would, like I said, echo what Brandon said. Any other folks interest?
I see Michael has his hand raised. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm gonna do my best not to go crazy. I think I'm gonna start off by saying I think it's important to uphold the nature that market was conceptualized. It came out of a disparity and a hunger from the community by a now past agriculturalist, drummer, and a food grower, and which is Hashim Saleh. That idea since is being expounded upon and built into a big pavilion or whatever, and been attended to and kind of programmed. I had to say, like, some very significant milestones or strides have taken place that needs to be really noted. Like I said, the conception of it from the community, from an elder, the building of the fence around it with Cleveland Projects on the other side of it, which is like a very highly distressed community. Then the urban farm school being created with Tambila Covington being one of the leaders of that movement, and with us as urban farmers in that program, growing food in a property that was on 22nd and Cleveland, being like one of the first initial sites of urban farming in the community. And with these urban farmers taking our products up to this farmers market and starting some initial market presence for what the market was intended to be. Not for food giveaways, not for reselling of food, but for actual growing food in the community and sold at a market that can actually infuse some dollars back into our community. I think it was the idea was great. We never had a market manager. We was really doing the best we could. It kind of collapsed after that first couple of urban farm classes. And, due to a lot of affiliation, I was a part of Community Food Strategies, Piedmont Triad Research, Regional Council, the efforts to get money back into this farmers market, which is very important to our community. Like we said, to uphold integrity, it has been brought back. And with strong advocates such as Megan Regan and Tiffany Oliva, it has gone in a trajectory that it needed to go in. It was bound by a 5-mile radius of who can participate in this urban farmers market. I thought that was very, very, very strong. And we try to prohibit all the reselling and we try to really incentivize and also prioritize the building of this agriculture in the community. So with that being said, even myself, we have a farm right in the community that has been passed with the urban agricultural ordinance to have a property that's farmed by urban farming. It was a short-sighted idea with the city. We only have like 1 year at a time under this ordinance. So we have to continue to re-up with this ordinance, even to use the property. And also it's insurance that has to be in place for us to be able to even use a group to farm this property. So hopefully I'm not talking too fast. Then on top of that, the water access is horrendous, because where we did have water access from fire hydrants, even at 22nd and Cleveland, I guess city management or whatever came in and said that is a hazard, because if someone's house is burning down, we got hoses linked up, it will prohibit somebody from getting their house hosed down. You know what I'm saying? So that disallowed us from using fire hydrants to connect to these properties to water our plants, which put urban farmers within this 5-mile radius at a severe disadvantage to be able to access water to keep our plants going. So we have noticed in this past couple of years, even though we've been still attending with the same spirit at these farmers market, events, we don't really have the support of the city to have enough produce to actually bolster our economy and infuse any kind of agricultural money into our communities. So I think that's important that we address this water access, address this insurance, address this 1 year at a time ordinance, and also address the reselling of the food. People are allowed to come into the farmers market just because we have low attendance right now. They're allowed to bring the resale food into the farmers market space and sell it, because that's driving out, that's giving them a competitive edge on people who are actually trying to grow food in the community. So I'll stop right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I think Helen, I'm going to give you the floor in just a second, but I'll say there's probably some good information in some of our minutes about a few of these topics, particularly what I'll call kind of last mile challenges that are hard to know unless you're kind of in the trenches experiencing it, which is about the water access as well as the insurance requirements. And sometimes those things that are like, for some folks, not a big bill, $1,000, for other folks make all the difference of, I can't do it, right? And I know there's a good amount of precedence at some markets. For example, Mariah, you seem very familiar with Cobblestone, and I'm familiar with that market, not as a vendor, but just knowing Margaret and Ariana very well, that that does change the competitive landscape for folks trying to grow their own food and price it compared to buying in bulk and reselling, but I do think kind of having a wonderful review in all your spare time of previous minutes, particularly the water access. Johnny Taylor has been really helpful in connecting us with some ideas and kind of trying to spread that challenge forward to the city, as well as the insurance, both of those being kind of limiting factors for production. Helen?
Yes, and thank you for referring back to those minutes. I know that Mariah has actually watched a lot of the previous meetings as well as reviewed minutes. So rest assured that as usual, our response is what it has been. We're not any less aware of these issues as we were prior, but I also want to take some time to actually redirect this conversation back to Mariah's original question about the Liberty Street Market. And something that I would actually like to ask this council and just sort of maybe get your initial reactions to is, I believe that there will be a chance in the near future to help serve the choice neighborhoods development that's going on in that neighborhood that is directly next to the Liberty Street Market. And we have been approached by people working on that choice neighborhoods project to see if there's a way that we could, improve access maybe, or help spread awareness to those neighborhoods around that area. Because a lot of what they're seeing and a lot of what they're hearing in their feedback is that these people who will be living in that area do want more access to healthy foods. That's a concern that they have right now. So, you know, obviously that lends itself very well to the mission of the Liberty Street Market. So I want to bring that to your attention. We haven't had more than one meeting about this. So this is still a very new idea, especially as the Choice Neighborhoods is still a pretty new initiative. But I just wanted to go ahead and bring that to your attention because I think that's going to be a great opportunity coming down the pipeline very soon. And just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of that opportunity as well.
So Helen, my understanding of Choice Neighbor, I've done some research. I'm actually doing some research right now in low income tax credit and like QTC areas. It wouldn't be people moving to the area. It's already people living there, right? I mean,
Yes.
There wouldn't be the idea that new people, like that would kind of be against the whole grain of what I understand. It's just more of resources, public and private dollars moving into the area.
Well,
So
right. And it's just further development of that area as well.
like for
I mean, in the
further
same,
resources?
yes.
or-
Yeah.
or-
Not
yeah.
like, yeah. Sorry if that was unclear, but yes.
Mhm.
I
So,
see
I mean, I
Brandon.
think I'll say at least anecdotally, we got a lot of passersby who are interested in the market, but they still did, it still wasn't affordable, even though it might have seemed affordable to most folks, you know, kind of, that was why we strategically did it on certain days, like Fridays and things like that. So, I think I'll kind of lean towards Michael in saying the fence is limiting. It makes the commute
That was
harder.
actually, that was part of the
know?
discussion, was doing
Yeah.
something about that fence. So
It
like I
makes
said,
it
it's
makes it
still
hard,
very
right?
new.
Like maybe it's not money, but it might be time, right? I think for some, we need to figure out why the SNAP dollars didn't work, because SNAP is hard to get anyway, right? It's really hard to get. You don't get much. And so to kind of say to people, walk far and get food that requires a decent amount of time invested in it after might be a hard sell, right? That's just kind of my guesstimate. But we got a lot of folks walking by, and I think from Brandon's perspective, collecting more information as to how do we engage them as customers or address the costs that they're facing that we don't necessarily see just on the price tag. And I think part of it's the fence. Yeah.
Yeah, and I should have also, and I'm sorry, Brandon, I do see your hand. But to, I think, clarify a little bit more, I think the opportunity here is to communicate your suggestions for how to better reach that community, not just saying we're gonna go ahead and make these changes and we hope it works. But now, because it's such an early conversation, that's exactly what we're looking for, Megan. That kind of thought process, feedback, research, yes.
Brandon, did you want to pipe in? I know you had your hand up.
Yeah, I forgot my initial thought. I forgot. What I do want to know, choice. That's a term that's, when you say the choice neighborhood, that I don't know if that's a new term to the, well, I'm not going to say to everyone, but in terms of it being brought up as a classification, what is considered or what neighborhoods are qualified as what they call choice neighborhoods, and what are the expectations and what do they want to see in terms of the Liberty Street Market? And this two-part question with that, what, if we know, generally speaking, what has worked and what has not worked?
Okay.
For that, space.
So the choice program is kind of like it's the name of a HUD program, right?
Yes.
And I think there it's kind of connected to some research by economists, big data, right? But like it kind of looks at particularly distressed HUD assisted neighborhoods. So they're already kind of
I shared the link in the
receiving-
chat too.
Yeah.
For this specific
So like the idea of choice is not necessarily what we think of as just the word choice, but it's a specific HUD housing and urban development program for very distressed neighborhoods.
Yes, and I have pulled up the link on to our website and linked it in the chat for you all to explore on your own time. But basically what they summarize here on this webpage is the investment. So there's a $30 million grant from HUD that will be used to construct and renovate hundreds of housing units for the benefit of residents in the Cleveland Avenue area. That's directly pulled from the website. And then there have been additional funds from the Community Development Block Grant earmarked by the city to use on this project. So anyways, that's a little bit more about it, but it's just that's what we're calling it in the city is the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative. But that's the area they're going to be working in, and there's further details on the website. But yes, that's going to be a big ongoing project.
Excuse me, pardon. Do you have a link for that website so I can kind of analyze the content? I'm still not crystal clear on what the parameters, the qualifications, and the criterion are on the Choice Initiative, and I want to know. I check that out, but I want to see how that choice, that area being identified as a choice neighborhood. How does that, excuse me, how does that tie into the trajectory or the future value of the activities taking place at the Liberty Street Market?
Yes, so we were just approached about it by somebody working on the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative because they received feedback from the people in that community that they wanted more healthy food access. And because this is placed, just right in that same area as the Cleveland Avenue location where they will be doing this development. And this doesn't have to happen. If you all on this council decide that is not your mission to serve, whatever it is, I'm just saying that this has been brought to me as a question. So I'm bringing it to you all to get your feedback. But yes, they just saw the need from the community, and then seeing this as a farmer's market, as a place providing that healthy food that's already in the area, that perhaps there was some opportunity for collaboration to serve more of that community.
And when you say they,
idea.
Pardon me. When you say they, are you referring to the residents in that community, or are you referring to an external?
The feedback that city staff got was from the people living in that community. So yes, that's who they are.
Right. So I'm going to kind of chime in and say, as a council, we're going to try to put together some particular recommendations and bullet points that bring together kind of what you've been hearing, right? So I think the idea that we know that circular flow, production connected to consumption, builds wealth, builds community, and that those last mile challenges deal with certain prohibitive costs, like the insurance, like the water, et cetera, et cetera. So like for folks to have more sustainable livelihoods, to remain in their community, for this market to be a viable source of health, well-being, community, I think we're gonna get together and kind of put together some of those challenges that we see, limiting access to this being a sustainable livelihood, but also why it remains a food desert and why this market space is important. And again, to me, what I call this kind of circular flow, right? The production and consumption all kind of drives building wealth and community within small radiuses. So there, ideally, part of those choice dollars has a very particular goal of keeping residents as the residents, and not kind of disrupting who's been living in the area for a long time, but making it a more sustainable livelihood for those who are producing agriculture, producing consumption goods within the community within a close radius. And then that market access, right? Like, I'll talk about Henry Ford. Henry Ford paid people a lot to work in his factory. Why? So they could afford his cars. And guess what? He sold more cars and his workers worked harder and everyone was happy, right? But it was that idea of a circular flow. And so there, I think certain things like the insurance, like the water access, make healthy foods, make raw fruits and vegetables, which require more labor to prepare them.
Well, let me put it
not in access to certain folks. So those might be some of the things that you see us talking about, because I'm familiar with that. So I'm going to look. I would like more information on the particulars of Winston getting some of that choice grant money and how that's going to play out in this specific neighborhood. Yeah, go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
Yeah, I apologize for what I don't know. Let me see. So my thing is, what I want to know is, as far as the choice is concerned now, is the request to, is it for consumption in terms of being able to consume or having access from a back end in terms of nutritious foods and foods and vegetables, or is it more of a production type of situation where they want to produce, consume, and sustain that? Like you said, well, I don't know if this is what you mean. We're talking about a circular flow. Do they want to have more ownership in the process of sustaining themselves with higher quality of foods, or do they want to just ensure that that option is available in that immediate vicinity?
Those are my perspectives. Those are my perspectives on the role the Liberty Street Market plays in accomplishing the choice program, which is a grant program of HUD, right? So find these extremely distressed HUD neighborhoods. And it's right. I mean, it's a federal grant, I guess the city got to work on certain areas in town. And then looking at the best use of some of those funds and how to improve the neighborhood. Helen, maybe?
Like I said, we have had literally one conversation that was very, very introductory here. So I don't really know, but that's again why I brought it to you guys, because yeah, you're the ones having thoughts like that. That's not at all what I thought of when we were having that conversation. And Tiffany was a part of that conversation as well, because this was prior to Mariah joining us. But yeah, I mean, again, we're still so early that absolutely we would definitely take that stuff into consideration, and it would be valuable information to have, that perspective on.
So
basically, that hasn't been identified. It hasn't been. So basically, pretty much, it hasn't been determined.
So what I will say is, Choice Neighborhoods is functioning without my help. I'm not involved in that project at all. Me and Tiffany were just approached purely because of the, I guess, perceived connection between the Liberty Street Market and the healthy food that market provides, and then the surrounding community. That's the only aspect of choice that I have been brought in for, because it's really run out of our community development department. So yeah, I don't know that I really have any additional, hand in that work at all. So
do you know whether or not the area got like a planning grant or an implementation grant?
I would refer to that link that I put in the chat. And again, because I'm not working on this and I didn't have a hand in any part of it, I am not as familiar and just don't have a lot of these answers right now, unfortunately. Somebody does somewhere.
I'm eager to look into it. I'm excited to like I said, I've done a good amount of research. Like I continue to do research on QTC areas and low income tax credit areas. the work of kind of Raj Chetty and stuff is, I think, where a lot of this is being pulled from.
And I will just pipe in and say that I have also attempted to reach out to the people who are involved with the Choice neighborhood to continue the conversation. When I was being oriented to my role, that was sort of one of the conversations that was handed over to me. And so as of now, I haven't been able to actually set up a meeting, but perhaps in the coming months, that will be something that I will get more looped in on and can continue this conversation with the council as well. I do have a few other questions, but I do want to pass it to Michael because I've seen that he has also had his hand up and I want to respect that.
Thank you. I'm not going to take long. I just wanted to clear up that Choice Neighborhood Award of $30 million for that area is basically, from any type of vantage point from the community, it has to be seen as being a method of gentrification. They're going from low income into so-called mixed income, which is a ploy that's been used in numerous cities to take prime real estate and make it, a habitation for people who could take advantage of that area, with the airport being right down the street, Liberty. I mean, of course, it's a redundant conversation, but we can't never get tired of talking about it because it's people's lives at stake. These people have been, they've been in an environment of plenty of violence, plenty of just being deeply marginalized, tossed into the gutter. It's the worst of the worst. And like we said from the beginning, when the fence was built around the farmers market, we have to look at things like that suspect, because if you're building a farmers market for the community, why is the first act you do is build a fence around it and limit access to it? So the first thing that should have been done was engage the community and teach them how to grow food. I think Tabila Covington, the elder Tabila Covington, did her part as best as she could in the office that she was in, with the cooperative extension and trying to reach that community and trying to bring 12 people to the garden and grow some food on a quarter acre of land, which is not nearly enough to feed thousands of people. I think we have to be really, look at people in equal terms when we're dealing with this. For even us to have to say the people have expressed that they want healthy food, we have to think like, what kind of statement is that? Because who doesn't want healthy food? Like for us to even have to make statements like that just shows the implicit bias in how we view this community. So what I would say is hold the city responsible. They got a red line exhibit downtown. If anybody's not familiar with this city and the redlining that's been enforced on our community to put people in these deep depressed conditions, familiarize yourself with the redlining exhibit and try to it would be my ask for the council to try to build a strong proposal to the city that has millions of dollars that it's never had before. Put some of these give us a few thousands, put some 100,000, 200,000, put some money together to increase the water access, to increase the land ownership of urban farmers, to increase the insurance.
Michael,
Pardon me, please let me finish talking. Please.
Yes, but I'm just saying that we have addressed these issues in previous meetings, as Megan has said, and this is Mariah's first meeting, and I would really appreciate Mariah having time to ask her questions.
Allow me to finish, please.
Can you put it in the comments?
No, I already wrote a lot in the comments. Let me finish my sentence.
And we saw.
Then I will. Pardon me. I'm not going to do this tonight. Again, buy the land for the people that has been prohibited, that has been kept away from us by red line tactics. Take the city money and buy these properties for the community so we have some equal stakes and equity in our community. That's simple.
We are looking into doing that. We are looking into doing that.
I ain't talking about looking into doing. I ain't talking about.
That is what you're asking us to do, and I am telling you that we are doing it. You have asked us to do that, and I'm telling you that's what we are considering. but a lot of research has to go into that. This is not going to be a quick turnaround. As to your other issues, again, I would refer to Megan's former comment about the previous meetings that having been addressed, and our answer has not changed. But again, we are still aware of this issue. I would like to now, I'm sorry, Megan, but I would like Mariah to have another chance to continue to ask some questions.
Thank you, Helen. And thank you, Michael, as well, for sharing your thoughts. I want to hold space for the fact that I know that these conversations can be difficult, and I think that we definitely need to hear all perspectives when we're coming to the table here. And I'm sure that this is a conversation that will be continued in our future council meetings as well. I don't want to change the topic too drastically, but I do have a few other questions that I'd like to address to the council. And so I'll just name them sort of back to back, and then people can respond as they see or have opinions on. And so in relation to thinking about our upcoming season to the Liberty Street Farmers Market, I do have some practical questions that are more logistical thoughts that I would like to ask, which is that I understand currently the market is set to be every other Friday. And I heard Megan sort of refer to this earlier, which is that time was picked strategically so to try and give the market maybe some edge, because maybe it's not competing with other larger established markets on Saturday. My question is, why do we do it? Why do we do that every other Friday rather than every week? And additionally, why is it on Fridays? Because I think if we're hoping to build more robust vendor presence, the reality is a lot of vendors do multiple markets. I mean, this has just been my experience working with farmers in the community for some time, which I will acknowledge is also probably they're well-established farms that I have worked on. So I understand that's not necessarily the same as smaller community-based gardeners that are still trying to get their start here. But I wonder if that is one reason why maybe the market has had a challenge of attracting more consistent vendors, is that it's not every week and that it is on Fridays when people maybe be doing prep for their weekend activities and other market events perhaps. To that point as well, when thinking about infrastructure for the market this year, if the council is considering continuing to have an active part, I wonder if we can go through because what I understand from my conversations with Tiffany prior to this is that it was sort of determined on a conversational basis of who would be more involved on what events and weekends. And I wonder if there's ever an opportunity to try and create a more formal sign up and rotation. And that way we can keep a consistent council presence at the market and also ensure that we have enough infrastructure and support staff, because as I think Michael referred to as well, it can be challenging if you don't have a market manager. And so if the council wants to have more formal infrastructure in the sense of having a rotation that is set up and predetermined so we know who is the contact at this time and this date, I think that could probably also go a long way on those topics. And then my final point on the Liberty Street Farmers Market, and then I'll open it up to people to respond, is so I hear the conversation and I want to respect people's perspectives. And so this is not at all me saying that this is the right thing to do or to consider or irregardless, but I think if the market has struggled to have a consistent produce presence, for whatever the reason is, the reality is if it's not established and it's not consistent, you'll also have a hard time bringing consistent customers to the market, which I've also heard has maybe been a challenge in the past. And so I don't know what the compromise is and whether we do allow select wholesale vendors, and we can even work with people who come from the Liberty Street zip code who would be doing that wholesale purchasing. So if your concern is for folks in the community to have those dollars back, that's still supporting their individual families through that income if they're doing wholesale reselling. And I know that you have said Cobblestone doesn't do that, but I will say that Cobblestone is a much more established market that has been around for a long time, and it took them a long time to get to the scale that they are now. And I think there's also another example in our community where that tactic has actually been successful, which is the Fairgrounds Farmers Market, which has actually been the longest standing market in Winston-Salem and was established in the 60s. And it is pretty well acknowledged, I think, that there are vendors, both local vendors that are growing in the community selling there, but also wholesale vendors. And I think I've also sold at the fairgrounds farmers market. And I think for them, it does help to fill some of those gaps. And so I just wonder if there's some room for discussion and how we can compromise to think about creating a more strong vendor presence. I think ultimately to grow the market and have successful customers and constituents who benefit from this as a resource, we also have to bring a strong vendor presence and have a consistent presence as well. So I will turn it over to people to respond. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes,
All right,
please,
let's see how my memory is doing with all those questions. So day and time determined by the vendors. We surveyed, we asked them. And we also, I think, had a sense of when people had time and ability to come shopping, which is on Fridays when people get paid. And that's why we also did it late in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So some of that might just kind of say it's a niche market. It's a market not trying to compete with the other markets that sell $12 heirloom tomatoes that I buy and are delicious. But that, you know, here it was a very specific, it was an intentionally cultivated space, not competing, just to be different, you know. And so Friday, late in the day, is different for folks who work really hard and don't have a lot of time to cook and don't have the luxury of longer term financial horizon planning, you know. But ultimately at the end of the day, it was people who said they were interested in vending. We surveyed them and we asked them times and days, and that's the one they picked. So that's the answer to that. But I do think the more regular, especially if it was weekly as opposed to bi-weekly, would help the customer end. From the Field of Dreams perspective, good movie, but I don't know if you build it, they will come. I think you have to get that, again, I don't know a better way to say it, but circular flow, right? You have to have that regularity, but you also have to have customers that can afford it. And I'll say for my privilege experience, it was unbelievable how affordable and accessible the fresh produce was at that market. And yet, for a lot of folks in the neighborhood, it was still inaccessible because it's not just the price tag, it's also the effort to get to the market, the effort to get the food home and cook it, right? Again, as someone who's done research on what those rental properties and housing units look like, they don't all have fridges and ranges. So they can't preserve the food, right? Like we might just say, oh, cost-wise, this is the cost to live here, this is the cost to live here. But a lot of those housing units don't have refrigerators or ranges that come with the rental price, which means for people who have to go home and prep some of the food to put it on the dinner table, the price is really high, you know. So I'm not convinced of the you build it, they will come. I think it is more understanding what are those local realities that people in a food desert, that people in a concentrated poverty area, that people in an area with no market access, no access to kind of, or limited access to sustainable livelihoods, what are the barriers that they face, you know, and how do we address that at a local level, not in a bring in outside capital in flight, however we want to call that perspective, right? So I think those were some of the intentionalities of the decisions we made around the market, which means, no, it didn't have 35 vendors or $12 tomatoes or things like that. But it also didn't just have food giveaway. And that was really important to community, at least what I saw. People that gathered, people that came by just to connect with people that they know, right? It wasn't just a food giveaway. It was a market. It was a place of exchange of ideas, ideally in exchange of more food, because people need more food on the plate, but I think that is part of the role we serve. Yeah, exactly, Michael, right? Like Jacqueline said, but I think that's part of the role that we serve, is connecting the government with kind of those missing bits of information, right? Like, why did the chicken permit not work? Because $100 meant you were losing money, So yeah, that's kind of my thought, but I'm interested to hear from Brandon and Jacqueline too.
Yeah, did Jacqueline? Go ahead, Jacqueline. If you went, go ahead. If you went.
I mean, I went to the market. I felt real good about it. I looked around and I had so many ideas about what would be positive and help. I felt like that would, I did my presentation of all my ideas. And I felt like I gave all I had to those ideas to help make it a more prosperous place. But as far as you said about having a manager, before the season began, I remember Tiffany shared with us that the city had deemed that she was over the market. And when I saw the interview on television, she was saying that, she was coordinating the market. So therefore, was she not the market manager? I didn't stop in this year. I didn't feel that good about it. So I've stepped away from participating because I didn't feel like any of my ideas were listened to or heard. But that doesn't mean, that they won't be valuable now. I just felt like it was more one-sided. It belonged to one person as opposed to the whole council. So didn't really feel like participating when it didn't feel like it was ours.
I would like to say something.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead, Brandon. I'm sorry.
My thing is, as far as the Liberty Street, I agree with I don't want to mispronounce your name. What's your name? The new resilience individual.
My name's Mariah.
All right, Mariah. I apologize.
No, you're okay.
I didn't want to mispronounce your name. I think one of the things I agree as far as consistency. You gotta be there. You can't, because sometimes if you're there every week, if you have a presence every Saturday, we know you go in your market. Most people go to the farmers market on Saturdays and Sundays. In that area, it's a lot of foot traffic. It's a lot of car traffic. Having it every week is innately more psychologically attractive than having like a schedule. It's like if you go to any type of market, on Saturdays the market is open. It's not if you happen to say, well, we got to go to 13th, the 3rd, the 1st. I've been in situations personally, my personal experience, where I've gone to markets and they said, we don't open this weekend. We don't open. And it's like that inconsistency can deter, traffic. You understand what I'm saying? So having that market presence consecutively will make that entity more familiar. Second thing, a lot of the vendors, that's why I asked earlier, you got to look at that market as like not a power plant, but an empowerment plant for the people in that immediate vicinity. My thing is, the people know when you see a lot of the vendors who came there weren't from the community. A lot of the stuff was repurchased goods and so forth. If you have in the market, you got to have a diversity of vendors that the community approves to have that buy-in. You have to see what the community wants, what type of things they're looking for. Now, if you show the community, Banner was saying earlier about how we had that urban farm model around the corner. Now, if we showing the people how to grow food there, which is that space right now is incarcerated. You can drive by there and see it. They had a situation where you train the people to grow food at the market. They participate economically. That's how you do when you're talking about group economics, and that's a sustainable practice. but you have to have something that's of value to the people. So my thing is, if being there, first of all, the consistency. I think we do, because that's an opportunity cost. You know, being there every week, if people know each Saturday, because it only takes sometimes one person. If you say you have people who have limited access, a person may have to walk up the street and go to the market. If it's closed that Saturday, that might discourage that person from coming back next Saturday or whatever the case may be. So those are opportunity costs. So consistency, I think, would add more value to our momentum if we're trying to attract more people. Because that's, I mean, you got to be there. You got to have consecutive hours. Like, you know, you go to certain stores, they might not be open this day. You know, that's discouraging. So these are easy fixes. You understand what I'm saying? So I think what you're saying, I agree. If we re-examine that protocol, I think we will find that if we try to be more consistent, just having that presence would encourage more participation. Then showing them or being able to use, we have that land, that money is available choice and so forth in those communities. It's a lot of small, you'd be surprised how many people are growing stuff in that vicinity. You got people who growing stuff in Piedmont Park. You have, you know, it's stuff growing in the off of 25th. You used to have stuff growing there. It's stuff that's growing in that vicinity. So we have to see why is that not being funneled towards the Liberty market. You see what I'm saying? As far as a outsource, you know, for people to come and exchange. So I think if we re-examine, you know, our scheduling, if we see how we can empower the people and to encourage more participation, if we can re-examine those, that the closest, let's look at some of the faith-based organizations. And we're looking at land as far as challenges, they have land. A lot of churches may be willing to, you know, help promote, educate, and facilitate some type of growing momentum or some type of curriculum to help those and result have a place to, you know, sell their produce and so forth. You know, so even with the e-commerce, you got people, Enterprise Center, you got Hope who have the capacity. So why can't we use it? Why can't the people use it? We're looking at e-commerce. We're looking at sustainability. So if we want to look at it from a holistic standpoint, I think we should really be critical in our examination of what works and what doesn't work. And you know, and talk to, you know, the choice people and see, you know, how to, you know, what the community wants and have more really of a more community engagement, you know, the promotion, the marketing, and having that presence. Because you got people in that vicinity, it's flower shops who need outlets to sell flowers and so forth. You know, so it's a lot of untapped, unrealized resources that are in our midst. So we just have, I think it would be to our advantage to maximize our efforts to kind of reconsider all of our options. And I'm done.
No, I appreciate that, Brandon. I think that you're correct in terms of the e-commerce. I know like a few months ago, I signed up for a CSA, which is delivered. But there for folks, like I've seen it kind of bubbling up the last few years where folks can pick what's available, kind of manage their budget, plan their meals. And one of the things that does work about the physical design of Liberty Street is it's a real easy drive-through, you know, and so to think about other ways where we might think about using that space for e-commerce, right? Where farmers certain days in advance, let's say 72 hours to 48 hours in advance, can post what they've got. Folks can say what they want to pick up. And it's just a place of easy exchange and not necessarily always tethered to that kind of tabling market space.
Right.
Is a great idea to think about. Great idea. I do want to kind of be that timekeeper though and say it's 7:26. So we've either got an opportunity to kind of wind down or motion to extend.
I think David had something to say before we cut off.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate you. From all the discussions this evening, my experience with my pantry in the communities that we serve. The way it's been able to thrive and grow and succeed is simply because the community trusts. If there's a lack of trust, I don't care how many grants or proposals or whatever we're trying to do, the community knows. And if the community trusts you, then a lot of these things that we're trying to do will begin to thrive, will begin to thrive. Everything that Brandon just spoke to, being present, showing up, all those things deal with the community trusting. When you throw up a fence and bars and have outsiders coming in, the community's not going to trust you. That's why the community's not going to show up. When we can get beyond those realms and actually have the community buy-in, listen, since the beginning of COVID, my pantry has been going in the Cleveland projects. This is the first time tonight I've heard about a lot of these things. The community's not talking about it, which means they don't know, which means they still not going to trust you. So we can have all these Zooms, all we want, until the community says, I know who you all are, I know what this is for, is not going to succeed. The community has to have a voice. The assets that are needed are already living in the community. They reside in the community. The community knows what the community needs. It's time for the city to listen. That's what a lot of the issues is. That's what I've seen in my time being here. All of these divides, because we aren't listening. We think we have all the answers. The answers reside within the community. Trust is what I've seen here on tonight. There's a lack of trust from the community. And guys, until that gets resolved, a lot of this stuff is just not going to fly. Said that respectively. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Yeah, I think that is a role I see our council in, is making sure that the city has the information that they might otherwise not have access to, because it's hard to get, you know. I know I spent a couple hours last night with my kid trying to get her to talk about something, and took a couple hours, and I'm her mom, and you know, I feel close to her, but she's 8, so she's already closing me out. So, you know, I think exactly right. Like, how do we get that information? How do we build that trust? That's hard. It's hard. It's easier to lose. But I think that is our goal, Mariah, just to kind of welcome you in open arms and open mouth, right? To our council, that's our goal, right? Is to kind of make sure that we can percolate that information that's generally inaccessible to the city, up to the city. Because at least for me, I'm 44 and still just as naive as at 4. I think the city wants to do good. They just don't know how. So we're here to serve, here to help, right? And there, you know, again, I'm going to kind of be that clock watcher and say, we either need to motion to extend or respect people's time and kind of wrap it up and get really excited about our 2022 first meeting, or any offline conversations and connections that we want to have. Because I've missed y'all. It's been a while.
Missed you all too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, as chair, I can't do it. Anyone want to motion to adjourn or extend? Anyone?
Motion to adjourn.
Anyone? Second?
I'll second that, as long as Mariah got a good starting place where she feel comfortable.
I feel very welcomed. I have always heard just in my first month that this is a group that has a lot of passion. I certainly see that here tonight. I'm really looking forward to what comes next in 2022. So thank you all for welcoming me, and also welcome to our other new council members as well. I feel like they did a lot of listening tonight, but I hope to hear their voices again in 2022.
Yeah, and I encourage you all, reach out to Mariah. I had a great one-on-one conversation with her. It was kind of like climbing Mount Everest to connect via, challenges of technology. But they're kind of informally, any of us can kind of gather and continue these conversations, but otherwise I'd like to call for a vote to motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Megan Regan, aye.
Brandon Williams, aye.
All right. Well, y'all, I greatly appreciate your time and more so appreciate your service to our important mission. And wish you all a happy end of the year, and we'll connect soon.
Thank you.
All
So
right.
good to meet
Take
you all.
care,
Thank you.
y'all.
Have a great evening.
great
Welcome
season.
new council members. Welcome, Mariah.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody.